Good afternoon and welcome back to the Orange Stage here at ETL 2021. We've had an amazing morning of seminars so far, and no doubt that this one will be similarly as good. Before we get started, just a couple of bits of housekeeping if I can. The headsets that you're wearing, which is the best way to hear the session today, before you leave, if I can just ask you to put them on your chair, and that way they can be cleaned ahead of being reused for the next session. We will also be taking questions during this session to be posed towards the end, but we'll be using that on a system called Glisser. The easiest way to access that is via the QR code, which is just over my left-hand shoulder at the moment, or you can also access that via the URL at glsr.live/ETL21. If you are watching online, in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there's a little plus button. If you click on that, and you'll be able to ask questions through that as well. As I said, we'll do the questions once Laura's had an opportunity to run through her slides and do an amazing presentation. So with no further ado, I'll hand over to Laura Davison from Tag Digital.
Thank you very much. And can everyone hear me okay? Great. So yeah, I am Laura from Tag Digital, and we support event organisers to reach their goals using paid media. So using search, social, display, programmatic advertising to build attendees, exhibitors, or whatever your objectives might be. So over the last 18 months, we've been working really closely with event organisers to support them on their goals. And today's session is all about how do you grow your data, whatever you're using that data for, engage your attendees and build revenue through digital. So let's get started. So first of all, thinking about what can paid media deliver for events. So think about search, social, display, all of these channels are really paid media, and often people think of paid media as just search. So understand that it can deliver visitors, exhibitors, sponsors, delegates data, platform registrations, which is becoming huge in terms of community building, awards entries or subscriptions. So all of these things are goals that we've all got, and ultimately we're trying to build really good quality data. So keep in mind you can use paid at any stage of the funnel for those objectives. So a couple of benchmarks and objectives and expectations that you can kind of set for yourself, and what does good look like? So we work on about 2,000 events a year. Every year we benchmark 100,000 campaigns, and we arrive at these benchmarks so we can continually test ourselves and our clients. So what results should I be expecting from my paid media? So we would say about 30% is good. We're seeing with some of the virtual events, we're getting up to 40%. But overall, from your search, social, programmatic, but 30% should be coming from paid media. 40% for virtual events. When you're doing your exhibitor lead gen campaigns, you'd be expecting about a 200% return on those. So you're wanting to get your leads coming in, whatever the cost is for say it's £10, understanding what that conversion rate is from lead to sale, and understanding what your average order value is so you can attribute that back to your initial cost per lead. And then I'll talk a little bit later about audience extension. The return on investment for audience extension, about 500%. And audience extension, to put it into context, is if you don't have a live event happening or you want to offer 365 advertising to your exhibitors, then you can use the data that you've got and resell that to exhibitors through cookies or through data lists to give them digital advertising. First of all, you want to be understanding your budget, and I think what happens is people maybe who are quite new to doing paid advertising just say, okay, let's start with £5,000, £10,000, £2,000 with no real expectation on what that should actually be delivering. So think about what is your overall target. If you need to deliver 10,000 attendees, then we're saying 3,000 of those should be coming from your paid media campaigns. Look at what your overall budget is for the whole event and attribute that back to what the benchmark is you're setting for yourself. Look at a return on investment per channel, and then understand what your cost per acquisition would be. So cost per acquisition, for anyone that's new to it, is how much should I be paying for an exhibitor lead, a visitor registration. And the nice thing about paid media is that number is really, really trackable. So we know it costs you exactly £8 to get one pre-registration, or it's costing you £15 on Facebook and £10 on Google. It's really hard to get those numbers from other channels in terms of, you're maybe working out your time or, what's the total cost of the product. We know on a cost per click basis, how many clicks do I need to get one registration and work it all the way back. So a question for you guys, it's just some interesting research that we were doing just now. What percentage of your marketing budget at the moment would you say that you're spending on paid media? So hands up for anyone, 10 to 25%. No? 25 to 40%. Anyone around about there? Is there? 40 to 55%. Yep. And 55 to 70%. Anyone over that? So often the budget is increasing for paid media, and that's what we're finding. It maybe starts out as something, just kind of test it and see how it's going, and then gradually it will increase over time. So we did a survey with 100 marketing managers across event organisers, said what percentage of your budget is going on paid media. So interestingly, we've got a lot around that 10 to 25%, but what we're seeing is a big increase in the 55 to 70%. And so why are people spending more money on digital? Obviously, post-pandemic, marketing looks really different. So we're not traveling the same, you're not spending on kind of outdoor the same, on tube advertising the same, print media the same, we're not in offices as much, so we can't be sending out like really nice direct mail packs. So all of that money is getting funneled into digital. It's trackable, it's easy to see your cost per acquisition, it's easy to budget, it's easy to see what's working, and the entire world is glued to their smartphone all of the time, so money's going where the eyeballs are going. So keep in mind, spending on digital is going up, and that's fine, but you need to be able to track it back to what your main objectives are, what your target is, and what's your expectation on what that can deliver. And the nice thing is, if you're running something, if you're running Google Ads, it's not really working, you're running LinkedIn, it's quite expensive, you can very easily move money around. It's not like, you know, you're spending $5,000 on a managed publisher placement, and you just have to let it run for the impressions. You can move it around. So something else that we've been working on, which we found is really helpful for our clients, is benchmarking. So everyone in events always wants to know what's good, what's best practice, what's my competitors doing. So we've put together 5 resources that we think are really helpful for our clients, and all of this is available to download from our scanner. The first thing is a budget planner. So I'm saying, look at what's a good cost per acquisition for your sector, your event. You might have absolutely no idea. So we've benchmarked cost per acquisitions for every single sector, every single objective across all of the main regions. So you can understand, what should I pay for a security event in London versus a security event in Dubai. So all of that data is there, and it's all linked to. Return on investment, so putting in all of those numbers. If I pay that cost per acquisition, what's my average value per attendee or per exhibitor, and it works all that out for you. And then separately to that, we've done 2 benchmarking reports. So we benchmarked 100,000 campaigns across live and virtual, and we've given the benchmarks for all of those. So put that into a report so you can understand what those benchmarks look like. And then finally, Google Trends if your event is a complete launch event. So all those resources, super helpful. That's all come from organizer data, and we benchmark that every year. A little snippet from those reports is our benchmarking by sector. So here you can see, okay, if I've got a live event, if I've got a virtual event, what does good look like? And is my cost per acquisition above or below? So it's really interesting. We're seeing in some cases we've got a much lower CPA. In general, that's what we're seeing on virtual, and a higher CPA for live. But then we're seeing the attendance is maybe dipping on some of the sectors. So use this as a start point to say, if I don't know what I think good looks like, here's where I can get all of my information from. So let's move on to what kind of digital strategy should you use. If you want to access all the stages of the funnel, any objective that you want to look across, then here's a strategy that you can use. Take it away if you're working with us, not working with us, doing it in-house, doing it with another agency. This is a blueprint that we've used for the last 6 years, and it works really, really well. So thinking about, I think one of the big things that's changed is, for years we've spoken with clients about, we need to be 365, we need to be community building, we need to be building great content, and it's all happened, but it's not been a mega priority. The events have happened, and all the energy and resource goes into that. And I think what's changing post-pandemic is everyone is doing 365. Data's more valuable than water. That's what we want to be building all of the time. So we're building products, we're building communities, and we're constantly doing content to make sure that that works. So have 365 on all the time, decent content, build your audience, and then that's going to support your other objectives. So events, virtual, live, whatever you're doing there. 6 to 10 months out, you want to be starting your exhibitor promotion. So you're gaining awareness of the event, you're driving exhibitor leads. About 3 to 4 months out, you're starting your visitor promotion. So you're building new data, you're remarketing to captured data, capturing visitor registrations, and you're running that for about 12 weeks. For virtual events, probably about 6 weeks is good. 2 weeks out is where we spend the majority of our budget. So what we found, again, kind of was getting to this stage, but even highlighted even more so at the end of the pandemic, decision making is coming really, really late. So before we'd always say kind of 2 weeks is when we want to have a big push, but now we're seeing that's even going to the last week before the event. So massive push on budget, massive push on spend, and reminding people to attend the event. Then post-event, what kind of content have we got that we can then get people to download, surveys, reports, on demand? How can we continue to keep our audience engaged after the show? So that's your kind of timeline. Then if we look at the different stages within that, one of the most important things, and this is across all of our clients, all of our products, no matter what you're doing, you want to be building data. So as we know, cookies are being retired 2023, let's say, and there's going to be things that are replacing that in terms of data onboarding platforms or aggregated data. But the best thing that you can do to support yourself is to build your first party data. So you're using content, you're building email, you're building phone numbers, so if you lose 50% of your retargeting list, you can use all of that first party data. It's really high quality data because it's people who want to engage, they're interested in your content, so it's more likely they're going to attend the show or do whatever objective you want them to do. So you want to grow your event and build a new audience with a really low cost per acquisition. So some of the ways that you can do that is display ads. We've got lead gen forms. So one of the biggest innovations that we've been using is lead gen ads. So these are native ads to all of the platforms, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn. One-click data capture goes straight into your webhook and straight into your CRM, into your marketing automation, and it's really quick to set up, low cost per acquisition. So lead gen ads across display, search, video and social, and measuring success in how many leads are being generated and what's our cost per acquisition per lead. Have that running year round. XProm, you're running XProm campaigns kind of 6 to 10 months out. You're looking to build higher exhibitor leads. You're doing this to support your sales team, and I'd say this is something, in general, people come to us when they want to build visitor or attendee numbers, and once they've been working in paid media a while, they'll maybe say, I'll do some XProm campaigns. So about 20% of budgets typically go in exhibitor promotion. You want to reach a wider audience than your sales team can pull in, and maybe you've got a new geolocation or a launch event, and it's harder to build leads. 80% probably of budgets are going on to VisProm campaigns, and whether that looks like data building for VisProm or pure VisProm, you're looking to build really high volume of registrations, quality registrations. You've got massive pre-reg targets to meet, and you need to use other ways to reach that audience. And again, you could be in a new industry or a launch event. The ways that you can do that is by, there's so many different campaign types, and generally it's got slightly higher budget, so you can do a bit more. So Google Display, predefined affinity audiences, retargeting, YouTube we love, we can do speaker ads, data lists, lookalikes, and keep the copy focused around what's happening at the event, what the takeaway is going to be, what content you've got, what speakers you have, what exhibitors you've got, and let the machine learning do its thing. So I said yesterday in one of the sessions, we're capturing 5,000, or the ad platforms are capturing 5,000 data points on all of us. Everyone thinks their phone's listening to them, but really it's predictive advertising based on who you're hanging about with, what you look at on your phone, what you search for, and kind of a culmination of all of that data to give really, really strong advertising. So we expect to be served highly relevant ads all of the time. And finally, visitor attendee campaigns. So you've registered for the event, that's great, but we need to make sure that people actually show up. So we'll run attendee campaigns to say, what else is happening at the event. We've got remarketing, reminder ads, we've got countdown ads on Google, we've got speaker ads, exhibitor ads. It's fine having a pre-reg, but potentially 50% of those aren't actually going to show up. So we want to run campaigns to push them to attend. So how does all that actually work in the real world? A couple of examples here of some campaigns that we've worked on, and this is since putting in place this kind of digital timeline. So one construction event was up 187% year on year, was 288% over their original target. When we're talking about a good cost per acquisition, they had a cost per acquisition of $4.86. For advanced manufacturing, CPA, so cost per acquisition £3.98. For a pharmaceutical event, 120% over their initial target, and again in another construction event was 500% up year on year. So it's really, really powerful, it's really easy to track, and cost per acquisition can be pretty low compared to other channels. So moving on to how can digital enrich your data and deliver revenue. So over the last year and a half, organisers have been struggling to generate revenue and make sure that their data is fit for purpose. So we want to find ways that we can connect our clients with really good ways to generate revenue, as well as support their exhibitors and their clients to build revenue. So I mentioned first-party data a couple of times. It's so important, but it's how to reach your audience with strong content, capture your email, upload lists to your ad tech platforms, but then use all of those lists to generate lookalike audiences. So some examples of what that looks like: ebooks, industry reports, case studies, key content pieces. As I mentioned, we absolutely love video. It's really underpriced media. It's cheap to do. Search is just getting more competitive year on year, but video is a really good way to build traffic and build retargeting audiences without being reliant on cookies. So as much as you can buy video, absolutely do it. I mentioned the lead gen forms a couple of minutes ago, and this is what they look like in real life. So this was something that kind of happened on Facebook a couple of years ago, but now you can do it on all of the channels: LinkedIn, search, display. And it's how do we build high quality leads? Keeping in mind that the ad tech platforms want you to remain in platform. They don't want you going anywhere. So they're making this kind of seamless experience on the platform. So one-click data capture, export the CSV, and it goes straight into your CRM system. So really nice, immediately captures all the information that you've put into the platform and feeds into your CRM. Another way that you can be building data, so keeping in mind cookies are going to be retired, first party is really important, but you're always going to be looking for other ways that you can build data. So third-party data is available to us in platforms like DV360. For anyone that doesn't know, is Google Ads on steroids, basically. So lots of different big data providers like LiveRamp or IOTA or Bombora capture data in all different ways from big publisher networks and news sites and all of these different places. They then license that data to the programmatic networks, and then advertisers can utilize those lists. So for example, an audience, we work in food manufacturing, and we can use a list from LiveRamp that's kind of targeted in multiple different ways across lifestyle, food industry, professional, so it's B2B data. But the main thing is the buyer intent and the confidence of that audience is at 100%. So previously, say in Google or any of the other networks, it's quite difficult to get B2B and intent data, but that's now all available to us. And to use those lists, you might pay $1 to $3 CPM cost. So inexpensive to do and a really good way to build data. So I mentioned audience extension, and for anyone that's new to it, it is a way that you can utilize your first party data, your cookie data, your Facebook page engagers, your LinkedIn, whatever data you own as an organizer. Keep in mind today, people are here buying floor space and generating revenue that way. But if we weren't able to come here, we're still really interested in the visitor list of the people that are here. And audience extension gives you a way to get in front, or let your exhibitors get in front of that really premium audience that you've got. So you can sell ad space to your exhibitors and say it's going to cost you £5 CPM to do that. We're finding that our organisers are reselling that to their exhibitors about £35 CPM. So very high margin, really easy to set up, gives you 365 revenue without the reliance of live events or alongside live events. So really strong source of revenue, allows your exhibitors to drive digital revenue. They're not saying just come and see us at this booth, they're promoting their new products, their new services, and they're getting access, getting in front of your super premium audience all year round. And then just a couple more innovations that we're absolutely loving just now. So one of our favourite things is dynamic search ads. So we run search campaigns, it's probably 50% of our paid media budgets. And we do bottom, middle, top of the funnel every single day. We think about keywords with our clients that they want to target. But what we know is 15% of all searches on Google are brand new every single day. So there's no way that we can account for that 15% all of the time. So dynamic search ads allows us to put a website URL in, and Google will automatically find us the keywords that our audience are searching for that we don't even know about. So it's really a mind sweep covering all keywords. It allows us to capitalise on voice search, which is notoriously really difficult, new queries and complex websites. And the results of that have been 15% uplift in traffic, 35% uplift in CTR, but the main thing is a 30% reduction in our cost per acquisition, which is the main thing that clients want to see. So really exciting. We're feeding the data into the machines and letting the machines take over. And it's working. You know, all of this data, we just can't process it anymore, but the machine learning is extremely powerful. Another thing everyone's loving is event ads. So event ads have been on Facebook, but LinkedIn have released their version of it, whereas a lot of event advertising is happening. So this lets us promote the event, it lets us see who else is going to the event, and keeps it all within LinkedIn. So using social proof, sponsoring existing posts, and just helps us with that kind of network effect and growing your audience. Custom intent. So one thing that clients often ask us to do is, we need to bid on our competitor's brand and we want to be showing for their keywords. And that's fine, and we understand why they want to do that. But it's not the most effective strategy. If I'm bidding on a competitor's keywords, user searches for the keywords and thinks, click on this ad, but it's not, they've clicked on the wrong website. If someone's searching for a brand name, they've pretty much made up their mind that's what they want to do, and it's very hard to change their mind. So people bid on brand search and it's fine, it's maybe a bit more of a vanity metric. What we prefer is custom intent. So we say we're interested in the people that are visiting competitorx.com. So we put in all of our competitor URLs and we say to Google, we want to be in front of the people that are going to those websites. And that's a more kind of softer way to do it, but still reach that audience. And kind of sitting alongside that is running video as your ad to the competitor targeting audience. So it lets you showcase why are we better, what else are we offering, but you're getting in front of that kind of new data audience. So we love kind of custom intent paired with YouTube advertising, and as I mentioned, really kind of underpriced media. YouTube audio ads, so again, voice search, radio streaming, all of the kind of podcasting is lending itself really well to audio ads, so you obviously need to have the right audio format. But in our initial studies, we've seen a 75% uplift in brand awareness since using YouTube audio, and that's just coming out of beta. So yeah, really nice to use, and something we can get you into the beta for if it's of interest. So just summing up, what have we learned today? Some benchmarks in budgeting for paid media. What does good look like? Is your event good? Is it better? Is it not so good? Do you have no idea? Please use our resources. How do you use paid across your full digital strategy? How can you generate revenue using data and using digital? How do you run 365 campaigns, and what different types of campaigns should you use to do that? And how do you best utilise your first-party data? So thank you so much for listening, and please join us for a drink and a demo at stand 3107 at 2 o'clock. Thanks. I'll take questions.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who's been watching online and in the room as well.
Thank you.
We do have a couple of questions, I think, which have popped through on Glisser. If anyone sat here or watching online has a question, please do feel free to use the Glisser platform as a route to get your questions raised. That's at glsr.live/ETL21. So I think the team are just going to pull up the questions that we've got. So the first question I think is a really interesting one. We've got loads of event organisers out there who are maybe stuck in their ways a little bit, or and have been confronted by a new way of doing things. How have you found that as a process in terms of speaking to people who've always done things in the same way and trying to introduce them to this new way of working?
Yeah, no, it's a great question and something we encounter every single day. So I think the first thing that we can do is kind of say, these are the kind of results that you'd be expecting. And I think once you start talking about the numbers, and that's something that we have a lot of confidence in, is we know because we just do one thing day in, day out, these are what you should be expecting. And if they're still not convinced at that stage, which is very common as well, we are always thinking about, we're in this for the long term. So test something with a really small budget, something that you don't feel too worried about. So, you know, probably, I mean, we still would probably say like 5,000 is what you're looking for as like a decent test budget. Test it, see how it goes, and once the numbers start coming in, they're sold. Because if you can say to them with confidence, I know it costs you £8 a registration and we know 60% of them are going to show up for this event. Once you can talk in those kind of numbers, which can be very difficult to get from other marketing channels, I think that's how you start to change mindset. The other thing I would say is we've worked with some of our clients for a very long time. So Informa we started working with in 2014. We still work with them today. And the budgets in 2014 are very different to what they are now. And I think it's just being in that for the long haul, understanding that year on year, once confidence grows, it's not going to happen overnight. Like some of these big organisers, it's like shifting the Titanic. But it's just kind of showing them this works, this delivered, end of campaign, we delivered 30% or you delivered 30%. That's massive in terms of event speak. So I think year on year, more confident and can put more money into it. So I think it takes time, but looking at the numbers and start small, let the confidence grow. Don't make them feel pressured into a huge budget that they think, oh my God, I'm spending all of that money. Just softly, I think works well.
As a company, do you find it's useful and beneficial to understand the kind of broader marketing mix so that you can work out the best ways to, or do you try and kind of think of yourselves as a bit of a separate entity and innovate and create new ideas that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one that we'd have the most crossover is maybe like the organic search or social, but it does kind of work quite separately as well. So I think sometimes people think we're posting stuff on their page, but we're not. You know, that's running to a new audience to build that. There's nothing going on their page. So we definitely work with the other marketing teams in terms of we want to know what content's working and what creative's working and things like that, but it's not hugely relevant, you know, what else they're doing in the other channels. What's most important to us is we've got this target that we need to hit and we'll do whatever it takes. And I think what actually happens is the insights we provide them will then inform the rest of their marketing. So yeah, we try and cut out any additional noise and stay very focused on what we're doing.
Amazing. And the next question, how has the shift from a one event focus to more 365-day sort of year-round engagement impacted the strategies that event organisers should be using? And what impact does that have on their budget?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, and it's just been fast forwarded. So yeah, like I said, we worked with Informa since 2014, and we've had lots of organisers we've worked with for a long time, and we've spoken about this year on year all of the time, and it's never happened until the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden, here's a budget for data building, here's a budget for our platform, and it's actually been able to create this kind of amazing, like, always on type campaign. So I'd say in general budgets have just had to get bigger, and it's probably not what everyone wants to hear right now. Probably what's changed is maybe the event budgets had to reduce, but then maybe the event targets reduced, everyone's accounting for a bit of a COVID bump. So I'd say overall the budgets have got bigger because people are taking it really seriously, and I think to survive you need to be building that data and, you know, stay relevant to the community. But maybe some of the event budgets have got smaller. But I would always say the other thing that we see is maybe the event budget starts smaller, but because it's really easy to track, it's really common in the last 4 weeks clients will move money about and put it into pays because it's really easy to see what's happening. So yeah, I hope I've answered that properly. But yeah, I'd say it's more interesting. There's more content happening as well.
Amazing, perfect. And I think that pretty much brings us perfectly to the end of our time slot. So thank you very much to everyone watching online and in the room. Just if I can remind you, if you are wearing headsets, if you can just leave them on the seat of your chair when you leave so we can get them cleaned ahead of the next session. But thank you all very much for your engagement, and thank you very much to Laura Davidson from Tag Digital.
Thanks,
thank you.
everyone. Thanks.